there, everyone. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. You're tuned into IFYL. Good morning. It is Monday, February 19th, and it is President's Day. So if you guys didn't know that, yes, people asked me this morning before I got on the air, was President's Day originally February 19th? So that's a great question. So President's Day is a federal holiday, just so you guys know, and it's next Independence Day. And so, you know, they had played around with it, with the calendar a while back. But, the question still remains is, was President's Day February 19th when it first started? I think that's the question everyone wants to know. And so, a little bit about President's Day for us to know. President's Day in the United States is a holiday. It's the third Monday in February, and it's popularly recognized as honoring George Washington, of course, and Abraham Lincoln. And the day is sometimes understood as a celebration of birthdays and lives of all U.S. presidents. So, the origin of President's Day lied back in the 1880s when the birthday of Washington, commander of the Continental Army during the American Revolution and the first president of the United States, was first celebrated as a federal holiday. Now, this was back in 1968. Congress passed a uniform Monday holiday bill, and that's cute, which moved a number of federal holidays to Monday. Yeah, so did it really fall on the Monday? Probably not. The change was designed to schedule certain holidays so that workers had a number of long weekends. So to answer your question, Mike, Joe, and Chris, who wrote me before the show, it was not always on February 19th. They just basically made that happen. So during the debate on the bill, it was proposed that Washington's birthday be renamed President's Day to honor the birthdays of both Washington on February 22nd and Lincoln on February 12th. And although Lincoln's birthday was celebrated in many states, it was never an official federal holiday. Following the discussion, Congress rejected the name change. Of course they did. After the bill went into effect in 1971, and the President's Day became the commonly accepted name, due in parts to retailers. And of course, it became one of those days where people could just try to sock you to get more money out of you. So there you have it. Happy President's Day. It is a day when basically your banks are closed. United States Postal Service is closed. I do believe UPS, that was a good question. Is UPS open on President's Day? Well, I'll let you know that right now. So they basically have a UPS, what they call a UPS holiday schedule. And according to the 2024 schedule, I'm just looking at it right now, President's Day, they are open. That's funny, right? The UPS store locations are open. UPS Forwarding and Air is open, and UPS Express is actually open. So that's interesting. So is FedEx open on President's Day? Let's check that out. It's a day when you get to the office and you really can't call too many people because a lot of places are closed. A lot of our suppliers are closed. Many of our clients are closed, but we've never closed on President's Day. We've given other holidays. So according to FedEx, they are operating what they call modified services. What does that mean? Well, basically means they're not giving you full service, right? And FedEx Ground is open, and FedEx Home Delivery is also open. Okay. FedEx Freight is open, FedEx offices are open, FedEx Custom Critical is open, and FedEx Trade Networks are open. So according to the rest of the world, we're all doing business. So the question is Wall Street, the stock market, open on President's Day? Well, let's take a look for you guys. So the Wall Street market, let's see, is it open? So it looks like Wall Street, let me just see here if Wall Street is open. It's a national holiday, but let's see if it's actually open. So according to the 2024 report, it's known as WASH. It's an annual opportunity to reflect on the history of the country. And most workplaces, schools, and state offices will close in honor of the holiday. Is the stock market open? Both the stock market and the bond market will be closed for President's Day. I mean, I would think that they'd be closed, right? But you just don't know. Our world is a little wacky. All right, guys, I do thank you so much for being here. I'm excited because for those of you that don't know, February 21st is my birthday, and I am traveling this evening. But I always get these shows out to you before I go to bed, trying different times to see what works with you guys. And a lot of people said, hey, John, can you do the show in the morning? Can you do it in the afternoon? So we're playing around with different times to see what works with you guys. All right. So our master topic, by the way, which we'll get to in a second, and I want to thank you, whether you're here at 10 a.m. in the morning, 10 p.m. at night. Thank you so very much for being with me on Inspirations for Your Life. Now over 150,000. I'm very grateful for that, ladies and gentlemen. Over 150,000 downloads. So our master topic that started back on Saturday, just a few days ago. What is karma? We're on series 3, which means we're in the third series, and we're on show number 8. But what is the granular topic for today, February 19th, President's Day? Well, it's unveiling the power of patience, navigating life's rewards with karma. Series 3, show 8, episode number 3. So what do we mean when we talk about this? Because this is something that can get a little, I'm going to say, convoluted. It is understanding patience and perseverance in navigating life's challenges and reaping the rewards, basically from the action. So the law. I'll say the law basically we'll be going to, but I want to just get into the law of cause and effect real quick. So the law of cause and effect we talked about before. When you do something, something else is going to happen. And so let me give you a perfect example. If a thought is thinking of something, right? If you think and embody that thought will manifest that reality. If you have that reality, it will give you that feeling as well. So let me give you an example. A lot of people can relate to being hungry sometimes, right? So let's think about you being hungry. It's lunchtime or whatever time it is. And now I give you some food. Maybe it's a delicious Salisbury steak, maybe some fresh mashed potatoes and some corn and carrots. I know I'm getting you hungry. I know it's only breakfast time, but you're already starting to salivate. You're already starting to have the feeling. So if you keep thinking about this, guess what's going to happen? You're going to evoke that dinner or something like it to be in front of you. Now, when we have the dinner, we have those feelings. Same thing happens, ladies and gentlemen, with wealth and manifestation of a lot of different things, abundance. So if we manifest the thought, let's say you're trying to manifest $1 million for just example. If you have $1 million, you're obviously going to feel what it's like to have $1 million. But I want you just to think for just a moment. I want you to think, what would it be like if you had $1 million right now? You can close your eyes. You can leave your eyes open. I don't care. So what would it be like right now if you had $1 million? So if you had $1 million, some people are writing and telling me, oh, they wouldn't work. Well, okay. What would you do? Would you do something for anybody in your community? Would you make a donation? Would you go out to dinner? What would you do if you had $1 million right now in your bank account? I'm talking about $1 million all in. That's after taxes were paid. You got $1 million to do what you want to do with it. Would you book a trip somewhere? Would you get a new car? I mean, what would you be doing? What would you embody if you had $1 million in your bank account right this moment? Would you, go for a massage, a facial? What would you do? What would you do with $1 million? So what could you do with $1 million? Let's talk about that for a moment. So a lot of people will say, hey, invest it. Well, yeah, you can invest some of it, right? But once you have 1 million in assets, you can look seriously at it and living an entirely off the returns of a portfolio. After the S&P 500 averages 10% return per year, setting aside taxes and down your investment portfolio, a $1 million index fund could provide $100,000 annually. Now, that's okay for some, but depending on what size house you live in, maybe your house is a few million, maybe it's 4 million, maybe it's 7 million. You've got to think in proportion to that. So How long could you live off $1 million? That's a great question. So, in more than 20 US states, $1 million nest egg can cover retirees' living expenses for at least 20 years. And there's new studies that are showing there's even greater things that can happen. So, it's worth noting that Americans are nowhere near having that much money just socked away. So, when you're saying to me, hey, John, how do I make that much money? So, we've always thought about thought, right? And thought does give you an idea to have an action. And when you take that desired action, you will come closer to achieve your desired promises. So I want to share that with you, and it's perfect for the law of cause and effect, right? Because this, you probably remember in math, because we have a Pythagorean theorem, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So what is the cause and effect of, let's just say, electricity? Let's take that one. That's one a lot of people can understand. Because there is a power grid providing continuous resources to us, we're able to plug into our outlet anytime, day or night, and enjoy electricity. Okay. Because we have traffic lights at our intersections, we can drive a little less stress knowing that 99% of people will obey the traffic lights. Now, if you're in New York City, I have to tell you, the rules of the lights mean something different. I learned this many years ago with a friend of mine. So if the light is green, obviously you go. If the light is yellow, it means, get across the street quickly because the light's going to turn. If the light is red, they have a philosophy. I'm not going to say the word. They would say run like HELL, right? But red means to just keep running and just keep going on as you don't hit something. So all the lights mean go in New York. But I don't know, that has a little bit of a weird thing. Because we're living a stress-free life, we'll live longer. Because we don't smoke, we will have a healthy life. You get the idea of cause and effect? Because we're sending out good karma to people in our world, we will have good karma returned to us. I've told you that karma is like a boomerang. You throw it and it will come back to you, good or bad. So cause and effect is something that a lot of people don't realize, but there are many causes and effects in our world. All right. Because it's dropped below freezing, the roads are going to become icy. Okay. Because we have solar panels installed on our home, we're going to be able to save 20% a month from building and maintaining our own sustainable energy. Because I drive within the speed limit, I'm able to have a lower insurance each month. And I'm also able to get to my destination safely and not get pulled over, right? So there's lots of cause and effects, right? When we think about a cause and effect, because I have backed up my data, I don't have to worry if there's a natural disaster or if something happens to my equipment or if I delete it inadvertently. Because I have made a practice of mindful meditation, I'm improving my life every single day. Because I invest in creating amazing social content that is going to motivate, inspire, and compel people to take action without selling, I'm popular in social media. Because I want to do what's best for others, people want to connect and follow with me. All right, so let's talk about the next law. It's called the law of force. The law of force. So what is the law of force? So the law of force is interesting. So many people are involved in multitasking. And unfortunately, we don't focus on one task at a time. However, we would be a lot more efficient if we actually did that, because we would get that task done and then move on to the next. Now, our society has convinced us that we have to accomplish multiple things at once in order to maximize our productivity. I got to tell you that when you multitask, you actually slow down your productivity and you actually increase your level of error. In the karmic law of force, okay, it states that you cannot put your energy toward two things simultaneously. So then, how do you actually do things like, let's say you're at a job and you're doing customer service and they want you to maintain 20 chats and answer the phone and be able to handle people that come into the window? You can't. You have to do something called time slicing. So let me give you the best example I can for this. So when you're on your computer, and let's say you open one program, fine. Now you open another window. What happens? You open another window. I mean, you open 4 windows. So the computer is actually going to time slice around, right? If there's a process running. If it's just windows running in background, that's what happens. If the windows are going to be, let's say, active, then you only gives time slice to it when we bring that window into focus. So if I know that there are 4 background tasks, okay, and there's 100% of the time available, then that would mean 25% of the time would be dedicated to each. So, but we don't do it like that. In a minute, okay, because that's how it's done. It's done in minutes. If we do a minute, we divide a minute by 4, we get 15 seconds. So that would mean that each process is going to get 15 seconds a minute. Now, what happens if you change that up and maybe you decide, oh, I want to open 10 windows? Well, you could go ahead and do that if you want. That would then mean that each process is going to get 0.16 seconds operate. Do you get how that works? All right. So I want to quote something. When you focus on one thing at a time, you accomplish much more with much better results, close quote. This according to Mr. Gray. But what does this have to do with living a more positive life? It allows us to be more present and more purposeful. This is why I love mindful meditation. I talked about this last night. We have the past, we have the present, and the future. Let's not worry about the past. Let's focus on the present, the moment that we are all in together, like you and I. We're listening to this program, right? Or watching it. And the future, let's not worry about the future, because we need to worry about the present. If we worry about the present, the future will take care of itself. All right. So that's a pretty cool thing. So by slowing down and releasing the constant need to be productive, you'll actually engage with life in a more purposeful and intentional way. Last night I was preparing some videos for this week. And I got to tell you, normally when I'm doing it, I'm doing like 4 or 5 things. I said, you know what? I'm going to try something today. I'm going to work on creating, it was 14 videos. And I'm then going to produce them. And I'm just going to work on that. And I got that done in just under an hour and a half. Now, normally when I'm doing multiple things, unfortunately, it does take a toll. So if your boss or your family member is saying, hey, you got to do multiple things, you say, sure, I'll be happy to do multiple things. But, if I was just allowed to do one thing and finish it and move on to the next, I would be a lot more efficient. Let me give you another example. Also being in the printing and marketing business, one of the companies I own, if you were to print a booklet, okay, and without getting into all the logistics of it, let's say the cover was, let's just say, a very high gloss, okay, it was thick. Now, let's say the inner pages were actually thinner and they were of a text type paper. So whenever the machine would have to print the cover, it would have to change the fusing temperature so that it would be able to handle the higher stock paper. When it had the lower weight paper, it would basically need to change the fuse again. So the question is, so does the fuser get hotter or colder when we increase the paper's weight? What do you guys think? So depending on the paper type and weight, you increase or decrease the fuser bell temperature. You can use plus or minus icons to adjust the fuser to improve the lead age. So what is the stats of this? So there is a granular adjustment depending on the paper type. You can increase or decrease the temperature for additional paper curl improvement. when the decurrent adjustment is not sufficient enough. On some stocks, usually coated stocks, areas of toner transitioning from no toner or low toner coverage to areas coverage may cause what's likely raindrops in the high coverage due to moisture in the paper. So you can try lowering the temperature by 5-degree increments. So I bet you didn't know that, but on stock paper that's coated, you need to lower the temperature 5 degrees and see how that works. So the reason I say this to you is if we were to do all of the covers at one temperature, right? And then we did all the others, it'd be faster. Because every time you print a book, it has to, let's say, lower the internal fuser belt temperature by 5 degrees because I'm now using a heavy coated stock. And then it has to wait a few seconds and has to raise the temperature. So there is a delay in between doing that. And it's also not good on the machine to be doing that. So it's better off to print the covers all at once and then take them out and put them into your inserter tray if you have that option, and then allow them to just be added to the book and bind it as they're coming through so that the temperature doesn't have to adjust. You see how that works? So I think that is a really, really cool thing. And that just gives you one basic example. All right, let's talk about the last law that we're going to go over today. And then we'll get to you guys tomorrow. And I'm not sure what time, but we're going to try different times. Let me know what time you prefer me doing the show. The law of patience and reward. Many of us, creatures of habit, we all want things now, right? We don't understand divine timing. We don't understand that there's a reason why things are not happening for us at this moment. We may not understand that at the present, but we have to just trust in that and trust in the universe. So the law of patience means that if we put an earnest effort into something with due diligence, on a consistent basis, we will reap the rewards. Whether we're talking about prospecting, whether we're talking about learning a new language, right? I have a question for all you guys. How long does it take to learn a second language? How long do you think it takes? So a disciplined student who's being guided by a teacher and using the right methods, or maybe even using something like immersion, which you can learn with a lot of the courses they have online, like I think it's Rosetta Stone. Language can be processed in an intermediate fluency state in as little as 3 months. Now, on the other hand of the spectrum, the same student learning, let's say, a Category 5 language needs 2 years to gain intermediate fluency. So learning a Category 1. So let's talk about this. So what is a Category 1 language? Let's just talk about that right now. So that would be like English, Dutch, French, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Romanian, Spanish, Swedish, right? Category 2 languages take a little longer. So what is a Category 2 language? Good question. So that would be things like German, Indonesian, Malay, Swahili, right? And of course, you're going to ask me, what is a level 3 language? Well, a level 3 language can take around 36 weeks or 900 hours of instruction to reach a reading level of 3. And these are slightly more difficult, and they include Indonesian. Swahili can also be put into that category. And what is a Category 4 language? I bet you never knew there were different levels of languages. This would be things like Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. And I'm assuming that you're going from the level of English. Okay, of course, everything is different when we compare it, right? A level 5 language is the most complex language in the world: Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. So they're claiming it can take English speakers to master this 20 to 100 hours, which is almost 2 years. That's twice as long as a Category 4 language to attain proficiency. So, when we just want to learn something, I'll tell you something. When you want to learn a language, like, for example, I was at a school the other night and I didn't speak Spanish. So I literally took my phone and I asked my phone. In fact, I can do it right now. Hey, Siri, how do I say, where is the bathroom in Spanish?
In Spanish, where is the bathroom is. ¿Dónde está el baño?
Can you say that again, Siri? We'll try that again. Hey, Siri, how do I say I'm hungry in German?
In German, I'm hungry is Ich habe Hunger.
Let's try it in Chinese. Hey, Siri, in Japanese, how do I say, where is the bathroom?
In Japanese, where's the bathroom is トイレはどこですか?
You can see how the dialects are very different, but I've given you a really cool free tip that you can use with Siri. Thank you, Siri, for your help, by the way. So it's interesting. You could do it on the Android, and it's very powerful, right? We didn't have that when I went to Italy my first time when I was graduating 8th grade. It was a present for me. So when we have patience, we will see what we want, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. And you see, this gets a lot of people annoyed that it's not happening overnight. Why do they get annoyed? Because they want it now. The law of patience and reward. I mean, everybody wants that reward, right? We all want that reward. And so the law of patience and reward is one of the 12, laws of karma. So we all play a part when we contribute to the world and collaborate, whether we're talking personally, professionally. We share things that might seem small, but can make an enormous difference in someone else's life. Like this little skill that I shared with you might seem very trivial, but if you were traveling to another country, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what John showed us. Or, Mr. Patel says, quote, the law of significance and inspiration is a great law to focus on when you need motivational boost. But the law of patience is something everyone needs to know. And according to Mr. Harrison, he says, and I quote, we must be consistent in our karmic deeds today. Quote, it's no good living healthily for one day and then sabotaging it the next day. So what this basically means is if you are going to, let's say, eat good for one day, and then you eat like crap the rest of the week, no good. If you eat, and you go off, let's say once a week or once a month, and you have that treat, that's okay. But you want to do more of the good, right? So when we think about the law of patience and reward, it's not easy, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell you, it's not easy to have patience. Everyone wants to believe that they're right. And I think the karmic law is just trying to say the consistency of hard work will pay off. And in accordance with Mr. Gray, it's important to acknowledge that achieving great things will require our time and our persistence. So no success is ever going to come quickly. I think when success comes quickly, we don't appreciate it. When success takes us a while to achieve, it's like, wow, I've achieved something. I'll give you guys a perfect example. So many of you know that I have started in January to training becoming a runner. I want to actually enter the New York Marathon. Now, this year is going to be too soon for that, I've concluded. So I'm going to do it next September. And I've been a volunteer, one of the heads for probably over 7-10 years for the New York Marathon. And so something hit me this year that I wanted to do it. So I started training. And I said I'm going to go on my first race, which was a 5K. I just did it actually February 10th, 2024. And it was fun. But I have to tell you, I came in like 350 something of 375. Now, you might say that's not bad, and it's not. But I have to tell you that that moment when I was coming up the final, let's say that final last leg of the race, and I could see strangers, my family, nobody was around. They were all not here. And that adrenaline just started pumping in me. The reward was already being given to me, like, hey, keep going. You got this. 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 That's a great way of trying to get people to do something. And I got to tell you, I'm ready to do the next one in 2 months. So I might not be ready to run a full 10K. And even though I finished in 45 minutes, which wasn't terrible, I wanted to do better. And I think it's good to have these aspirations, but we have to not be too hard on ourselves. We have to have patience. We have to understand that we need to reward ourselves, not just rely on others to reward ourselves, because, no one's going to pat us on the back. No one's going to say, hey, John, you did a great job. If they do, that's great. It's icing on the cake. But don't live your life expecting someone else to pat you on the back or to shake your hand or say, hey, wow, you're pretty smart, or wow, you did this, or wow, that's amazing. I love the thought, okay? But remember, no one has the right to make you feel inferior about yourself. I said no one, no one, no one, no one, no one. Only you. But you shouldn't put yourself down either. And if you understand all this, and you're a little less hard on yourself, and you start to reward yourself like, hey, I did that race. I'm like, hey, John, even though I didn't finish it in what I wanted to finish it in, I did pretty good, because when I finish the race, normally when I do a race, I'm out of breath for like 10 or 15 minutes. I was out of breath, ladies and gentlemen, for about 40 seconds. I kid you not. That was an amazing experience for me. So today we talked about, again, what is karma? We went over the granular topic, understanding the power of patience, navigating life's rewards with karma. What is the law of cause and effect? The law of force, law of patience. So before I do go for today, how do you build patience? Well, that's not an easy one. You can look for small opportunities to practice patience, practice mindful meditation, shift your perspective. Maybe you're at a traffic light, you're like, oh, gee, this light's taking forever. A great time to just be grateful of everything around you. The fact that you're alive, the fact that you're breathing, the fact that you're in a safe car. Be kind to yourself. Remember, what matters most to you will sometimes be important to others. Develop the practice of wanting to be patient. Again, a lot of people say to me, hey, John, I'm so impatient. Well, there could be a lot of ways to get you to be patient. People would say, find the inner Zen in you. But, that's not easy for a lot of people. It's not easy. So we can reframe the issue. When you're irritated about a situation, try to think about why it bothers you. And once you identify the reason, reframe the issue so it's less cumbersome. I'll give you an example. I was at play practice the other day, and this lady who was, let's say, second charge to one of the assistant directors, I was helping them put together a solution so that the projector would give more of a full screen. And she says to me, she says, you're not a tech. And I says, yes, I am. Maybe I shouldn't have flew off the handle and said that like that. And then she says, well, you're not one. I said, I'm an engineer. Well, you're not one now. Maybe I should have just said, okay. Maybe I should just ignore it. But I mean, was she wrong? Yes. But I probably could have reframed it and said, you know what? It doesn't matter what she thinks. I'm doing what I can to help others. So if you find yourself waiting for a coworker who's maybe 15 minutes late, take it as the opportunity to read or catch up on emails and enjoy that. Practice mindful meditation. You can learn more about that by visiting believemeachieve.com, scanning the QR code. Show gratitude, but don't just show it. I want you to feel it. Practice acceptance. Accept people as they are, not as you want them to be. Get comfortable, ladies and gentlemen, being uncomfortable. You heard me say that right. I'm going to say that 2 more times. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you don't, you're not going to be successful. Slow down. I know you got deadlines, but if you slow down, you'll actually reach them faster than if you rushed, because you'll make less mistakes. Try to have fun, enjoying the process, and improve your listening skills. Remember, it's not all about you. You're not so important. Let the other person take some light. Dale Carnegie said it best. Strive to become genuinely interested in the other person and don't have an agenda. Sort out your own baggage. Maybe you're impatient because you had a past experience of a trauma, or maybe somebody said something nasty to you. Examine your core beliefs. And at work, being patient, I know, is not easy. But just realize that you are trying to work on a common goal. Strive for realistic, and I like to say goals, I like to say promises more often. Be kind to yourself, improve that work-life balance, focus on prioritizing your tasks. So are there dangers of being too patient? While patience is a virtue, it's important to know its limits. Remember that you shouldn't be too patient. Like if you are suddenly being so kind to somebody because that's the way you are, you can say to somebody, hey, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. And that's something I want to share with you guys because I think a lot of people have to know that karma is real. Before I say goodbye to you today, I want to thank you so much for joining me here on Inspirations for Your Life and checking out all the amazing content. To that, I am immensely grateful to you. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. My next broadcast will be coming to you from Florida because I'll be traveling there, but I'll continue to do the programs. Check out all my great stuff. Blessings to you. And as I say to everyone, namaste. And I'll catch you guys on the next Inspirations for Your Life show tomorrow. All right, everyone. Be well and take care.